There is every reason to be happy about all the support we're getting from all our allies. And it's really, really important that all of
Danish
us who
Foreign
believe
Minister
in the
Lars Lokke
international rule of
Rasmussen
law
on
speak up
January
to show
19th
Trump
said
that you
discussions
can't
with the
go any
U.S.
further down
should
this
move
path. Just
away from
forget it.
such an
I mean,
escalating
look, in
conversation in the public
2026,
space
you can
to a
trade with
meeting
people,
table.
but you can't trade with people.
His
And that
comments
rule
come as U.S.
remains.
President Donald
Forget that.
Trump has
There
intensified
aren't
his
Russian
push
or
to
Chinese
wrest
sanctions
sovereignty
on
over
these islands,
Greenland from
while
fellow
Denmark,
NATO
together
member
with Greenland,
Denmark,
has kept
prompting the
Chinese
European
investments
Union to
out.
weigh hitting
It's
back with
about
its own
sending that
measures.
signal to the American president. This is a line you cannot cross.
Speaking to journalists
This is
during a
not the
visit to the
discussion we
United
need to
Kingdom,
have in the EU,
Rasmussen said,
because it's
all
not
those who
Denmark that should
believe in
respond,
international
and
law
it's not
should
the
speak
countries
out
on this list
to
that should
show Trump
respond.
that you can't go
It's
further down this
Europe
road.
that needs to give a unified response. There is every reason to be happy about all the support we're getting from all our allies. And it's really, really important that all of us who believe in the international rule of law speak up to show Trump that you can't go any further down this path. Just forget it. I mean, we're living in 2026. You can trade between people, but you can't trade with people. And that rule remains. Forget that path. Because there aren't Russian and Chinese state ships all over the place. And Denmark, together with Greenland, has kept Chinese investments out because it's about sending that signal to the American president. This is a line you cannot cross. It's very much a discussion we need to have in the EU because it's not Denmark that should respond, and it's not the countries on this list that should respond. It's Europe that needs to give a unified response. And there's a European summit Thursday evening, and I hope there will be clarity on this issue. I mean, we have no ambition to escalate things. In fact, we agreed with the Americans last week that we should move away from an escalating conversation in the open and instead bring it to the negotiating table. And we stand by that.
For us, ideas that would not respect territorial integrity of the Kingdom of Denmark and the right of self-determination of the Greenlandic people are, of course, totally unacceptable. And we therefore still have a fundamental disagreement.
What is actually the standing order for the Danish soldiers, whom we must now understand there will be even more of if the Americans suddenly land in Greenland? Can Danish forces be used to initiate a fight against American soldiers if they are involved?
It's the same order that has always applied in modern times, which the chief researcher can elaborate on. Namely, that if you are attacked, you must defend the kingdom.
U.S. President Donald Trump believes that Greenland can be annexed and that he can take action to achieve it, whether they like it or not. Does the U.S. think taking over the Arctic island will be a cakewalk? Whatever Washington believes, Denmark and its NATO allies are standing firmly behind Greenland to look after the Arctic security. Troops from several European nations, including France, Germany, Norway, and Sweden, are being deployed to Greenland to strengthen security on the Arctic island. This follows talks held on January 14th between officials from Denmark, Greenland, and the United States, which exposed a fundamental disagreement among the NATO allies. Late on the evening of January 14th, a Danish Royal Air Force aircraft landed at Nuuk Airport in Greenland, where military personnel were seen disembarking. The Joint Arctic Command said the Danish Armed Forces would assist with preparations for upcoming training exercises. French President Emmanuel Macron said the first French troops are already en route to Greenland, with around 15 mountain infantry soldiers already in Nuuk for a military exercise and more expected to follow. Germany will deploy a 13-member reconnaissance team to Greenland on January 15th, according to its defense ministry. Denmark announced plans to strengthen its military presence in Greenland with the support of NATO allies. Danish Defense Minister Troels Lund Poulsen said the objective is to establish a more permanent deployment, with troops from several NATO countries rotating through Greenland.
As you know, the security policy tensions have spread to the Arctic. This means that we need an increased presence in and around Greenland. Therefore, in close dialogue with the Greenlandic government, we have agreed to increase our military presence and also our exercise activities in the Arctic and the North in close cooperation with the NATO allies. This is not new. We also did this in the summer and autumn of 2025, when I myself had the opportunity to observe some of the exercises together with, among others, my Nordic colleagues. And this is something we will continue here in 2026. For it is a clear priority for the government and the entire kingdom that we strengthen both our own and NATO's presence in the Arctic and the North. In this way, we strengthen our shared security in the Arctic, which benefits the entire alliance. In other words, it is a necessary defense in a time of security policy uncertainty where no one can predict what will happen tomorrow. And I would also like to say here that, of course, I had hoped to be standing here with my Greenlandic colleague, Minister for Foreign Affairs and Research, Vivian Motzfeldt. But as you all know, she is currently in the USA, where she, together with the Foreign Minister, is attending a meeting at the White House. We have initiated the increased presence and exercise activity today. The Chief of Defence will elaborate on this in a moment. In the coming days and weeks, the armed forces will deploy capacities and units in connection with various exercise activities, and the planning is ongoing. This means that from today and in the near future, there will be an increased military presence in and around Greenland of aircraft, ships, and soldiers. This also includes those from other NATO countries. The security of the Arctic is of crucial importance not only for the kingdom, but also for all of NATO. That is why it is important that, in close cooperation with our allies, we take action so that together we can further strengthen the defense of the Arctic and the North Atlantic for the benefit of the entire alliance's security. And we have already acted in close cooperation with both Greenland and the Faroe Islands. We have, in 2025, entered into 2 major partial agreements concerning the Arctic. In addition, we are also investing in a wide range of capabilities and initiatives that are specifically relevant to the defense's tasks in the Arctic. This means that in total, we have invested around 88 million kroner in capabilities and initiatives that can strengthen defense and security in the Arctic. The kingdom has thus demonstrated and continues to demonstrate that we are taking responsibility for our collective security in NATO and thereby also contributing to our allies and the security of our allies, including the United States. Today, we are further strengthening security, and we are also maintaining close cooperation with our allies, because together we stand stronger. And now I will hand the floor over to the Chief of Defence.
The task of the armed forces is to defend the Kingdom of Denmark, Greenland, the Faroe Islands, and Denmark within the framework of national defence and collective defence, that is, within the framework of NATO. We do this every single day, all year round, the tasks together with allies in NATO. The armed forces, together with allies, carried out a wide range of activities around Greenland in 2025, and the increased presence in Greenland will be continued in 2026 during the Arctic Endurance Exercise. This strengthened effort builds on initiatives that we already launched last year together with our allies. This means that in the coming period, there will be an increased Danish military presence in and around Greenland by both aircraft, ships and soldiers on the ground, as well as from several other NATO allies. Of course, it is a high priority for the armed forces to continuously train the deployment of capabilities in Greenland and the Arctic. The exercise activities will include a wide range of military disciplines and the ability to operate in Greenland, which is a unique place on Earth for military operations, on land, at sea and in the air. And the purpose of the additional deployments and activities that are now to take place is, of course, to strengthen the armed forces' operational readiness and cooperation with allies.
The American president has once again stated that he wants control over Greenland. What is actually the standing order for the Danish soldiers, whom we must now understand there will be even more of if the Americans suddenly land in Greenland? Can Danish forces be used to initiate a fight against American soldiers if they are involved?
I think that's a highly hypothetical question. The fact is, they consider it unlikely that one NATO country would attack another NATO country. It's within the framework of NATO that we carry out these activities, and it's also Denmark as the host country that has taken these initiatives. And therefore, I also can't imagine, nor will I speculate about, a NATO country attacking this one.
But it's not so hypothetical considering that the world has changed radically. You couldn't even have imagined that we would be standing here discussing the things we are now, given the current circumstances. So what are the standing orders for the Danish soldiers?
Well, it's the same order that has always applied in modern times, which the chief researcher can elaborate on. Namely, that if you are attacked, you must defend the kingdom. But that being said, I consider it to be completely hypothetical that the American government would launch an attack on Greenland.
In September 2025, Denmark invested $253 million in Greenland for healthcare and infrastructure projects scheduled between 2026 and 2029, while continuing to retain control over the island's foreign affairs. Greenland was formally incorporated into Danish territory in 1953, and now suddenly Trump wants it in the name of national security. It's like the US wants to eat the fruit of a tree that Denmark has nurtured for decades. Danish Foreign Minister Lars Lokke Rasmussen said talks at the White House revealed a fundamental disagreement with President Donald Trump over Greenland. But both sides agreed to form a working group to address differences, and the group would focus on U.S. security concerns while respecting Denmark's red lines, even as Trump continues to push for control of the territory.
For us, ideas that would not respect territorial integrity of the Kingdom of Denmark and the right of self-determination of the Greenlandic people are, of course, totally unacceptable. And we therefore still have a fundamental disagreement, but we also agree to disagree. And therefore we will, however, continue to talk. We have decided to form a high-level working group to explore if we can find a common way forward. There's clearly a disagreement. We agreed that it makes sense to try to sit down on a high level to explore whether there is possibilities to accommodate the concerns of the president, while we at the same time respect the red lines of the Kingdom of Denmark. So this is the work we will start. Whether that is doable, I don't know. I hope, and I would like to express that it could take, down the temperature. It is, of course, very emotional for all of us, and of course, particularly for people living up in Greenland, but also for people in Denmark.
I think it's very important to say it again, that how important it is from our side to strengthen our cooperation with the United States, but that doesn't mean that we want to be owned by the United States. We are allies. We are friends. We have been cooperated in many, many years. We have history together. So it's all our interest to find the right balances.
Although POTUS did not attend the Greenland talks, the president told reporters he remains determined to acquire the territory. "We need Greenland for national security," Trump said. "We'll see how it all works out. I think something will work out."
Mr. President, on NATO, right now it sounds like you are saying that you would potentially acquire Greenland by force. That would be a NATO country. The United. Are you saying that? Would you do that?
No, you're saying that.
Would you acquire
I didn't
it by
say it.
force
No,
right
you're
now?
telling me that that's what I'm going to do. You don't know what I'm going to do.
So what are the options?
Your
then?
network
Because
doesn't know either.
The Danish foreign minister said that there's still fundamental differences after the meeting with Rubio and with the vice president. Are you willing to leave the NATO alliance in order to get what you want with Greenland? What are the options right now?
Well, I wouldn't be telling you what I'm willing to do, certainly. I'm not going to give up options, but it's very important. Greenland's very important for the national security, including of Denmark. And the problem is, there's not a thing that Denmark can do about it if Russia or China wants to occupy Greenland. But there's everything we can do. You found that out last week with Venezuela. There's everything we can do about things such as that. Not going to happen. We're not, I can't rely on Denmark being able to fend themselves off. They were talking about they put an extra dog, and they were serious about this. They put an extra dog sled there last month. They added a second dog sled. That's not going to do the trick.
Denmark fought alongside the United States in both Afghanistan
Thank you
and
for telling me
Iraq.
that. I appreciate it.
But
I have a very good relationship
they're
with Denmark,
an
and we'll see how it all works out. I think something will work out. Yep.
Mr. President,